So when were court witnesses first allowed to swear on books other than the Bible? The answer was in 1978.
I swear on the Lord of the Rings. You're watching Britain's brightest daytime show with Amanda Lamb, Stephen Gates and Larry Love from the Alabama 3. He's going to have the rest of today's headlines for you in a little under 10 minutes. But first, I wonder what these guys make of the judge who yesterday ruled that Christian beliefs have no place in court. Writestuff at 5.tv is the place for your emails. And this story all began when Relate counsellor Gary McFarlane was sacked for refusing to give sex therapy to gay couples. He argued it went against his Christian beliefs. It was a matter of conscience. An employment tribunal rejected his claim that he was the victim of religious discrimination, and yesterday, appeal court judge Lord Justice Laws upheld that decision. He ruled that Christian beliefs have no right to any special protection by the courts, and that means no protection for anyone acting on conscience. And yet, you might remember this, when Cherie Blair was judging a case a couple of months back, she gave a guy a suspended sentence because, as she said it, he knew he'd done wrong because he was a man of faith, a devout Muslim, in fact. Witnesses can still make an oath in court by swearing on the Bible, and that every single courtroom I've been to, and I've been to a few, has the monarchy's coat of arms in it, which plainly states, God and my right. So, is this judge right? There's no place for the church in court, Steph?
I have to say, I believe he's right, yes. It is also a very, very difficult area, but religion defining how a democracy works is a very, very dangerous thing.
But doesn't... hang on, so, but our monarch has, the Queen Elizabeth, has a divine right to rule, according to her coat of arms.
Yes, that sounds rational, doesn't it?
Yes, but it's what we've had for hundreds of years.
Absolutely, that doesn't necessarily mean it's right, and it doesn't mean that this isn't a tricky area, and that some things will be right within the law and some things are wrong. The basic idea that you can defend any view on religion, I think, is wrong. You know, because at what level do you stop at? These things are subjective. You could claim all sorts of different things. A lot of religions have quite extreme beliefs, and I think when you use your belief as a way to challenge the legal structure of a country, it's a very dangerous thing, because where do you stop?
I don't know. I mean, there's plenty of countries that do very well with religious law. Iran, Saudi Arabia. You know, these are moderate, you know,
and
happy places.
Also countries that are very secular, like France, which has a very strict separation of church and state, even though it's a strongly religious country. They have a lot of problems, like the wearing of headscarves in schools. It is fraught with difficulty, and I completely accept that. But I do think that religion should not define what you are legally allowed to do. OK,
now, Larry, you said you're a preacher's son. Do you think there's a place for faith in court?
Well, what I find quite interesting, you're talking about, you know, how the Queen is the kind of, you know, spiritual leader of this country. And if Henry VIII, who kind of started this business, had a bit of sex therapy at that time, he wouldn't have chopped the heads off his wives and would be the mess we're in now. It all starts with a bit of sex therapy back in the 16th century, you know?
It's a good point, though, isn't it? Because that's effectively where
well, basically, he wanted to have his, you know, proverbial way with whatever, and decide he's going to form his own religion, and now we're kind of still swearing on his old Bible.
Do you think we should just scrap the whole swearing on the Bible thing in court now? You just make a solemn pledge?
Just be swearing in there. Just swear. That's what courtrooms are for.
What about you, Lemmikin?
I think his choice of job, his choice of career, being he was a Relate counsellor, wasn't he?
Well, hang on. Catholic priests dole out advice to couples that are having marital difficulties.
But this is what, but what I don't understand with this is that he refused to see a gay couple. Yet, if you went to Relate because you'd had an affair, now in the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not commit adultery, would he then refuse to see anyone that's coming to marriage guidance because they've had an affair? I don't understand why he's just discriminating against homosexual couples and not against people that have cheated.
OK, I mean, you know, the fact that he decided not to do something or not to do that on conscience, that there's no legal grounding for that. I just wonder, what do you think about the swearing on Bibles? Do we want to get rid of the coat of arms, God am I right?
No, and I still think deep down, I know that, you know, everyone sort of says we're a bunch of heathens now, but I do still think that deep down there is something about putting your hand on a Bible and swearing on it. Maybe it's just the good girl in me that does it, but I think if ever I'm in court, if I put my hand on that Bible, I am going to tell the truth or God will get me.
But it's quite funny because that is the essence of it. There's the tradition to it, isn't it? And you know, when you see the law lords sitting there with their wigs and everything else, that sort of flow through the history.
But it's that fear of God, isn't it? It's putting the fear of God into you. If you put your hand on the Bible and you swear on it, then you're telling a lie.
So should that mean that somebody who doesn't have faith, who goes in and says no, I don't want to put my hand on any religious text, I wonder if a jury sees them as less truthful in some way?
Very interesting.
If that's true, that's a terrible.
That's when you come back to the Cherie Blair telling this Muslim guy that he's getting a milder sentence because he knew he did wrong because he was a devout man.
Yeah.
So if it affects judges, then one can assume it affects jurors. But first, Mr. Love, what have you got from the papers for us?
There's an article in the front page of Daily Mail. Teacher is cleared by a common sense jury. Involving the teacher who just got let off for half battering to death that disruptive child. Because
they charged him with attempted murder, although he pleaded guilty to grievous bodily harm without intent.
Yeah.
Because his mind had been pushed. But I think what was really interesting, one, the question about whether the case should ever come to trial, but we were talking before we came on air, does every school have one of those teachers that the kids can get at? Because I know we had one at my school. Did you have one at yours? You made life a misery?
A South Wales comprehensive, yeah. I think most teachers are like that. I think what's quite interesting about this is that, and he mentioned a bit, is the fact that all the kids were just film teachers all the time now, which when I was young, you didn't have that opportunity to go around the playground afterwards and have a laugh with the physics teacher going mental, you know what I mean? But now they were happy snapping, you know what I mean?
I think that adds to the pressure, though, doesn't it? Because and you can imagine goading and goading and goading, and then filming it at the same time.
It's almost part of the job of a teacher now to be able to cope with these really difficult situations.
God, when I think back to the teacher I'm thinking of, I actually feel guilty about how we treated him. I don't know. Anything else? What else?
Yeah, there was this tragedy going on in just off the coast of America with this oil spill. I think let's just hope the Americans deal with that a lot better than they did with Hurricane Katrina, you know.
Well, they're saying 5 times bigger than they originally thought.
100 miles, isn't it? It's huge. It's the worst one in US history, they were saying. I was reading somewhere.
It doesn't look good, does it? It really doesn't look good.
No.
And then I saw one of the statistics they had on the news about how many cars it could fuel forever, and I thought, I think we're missing the point here, really.
It's not the car.
That said, it's things like this that will bring to Americans the importance of reliance on oil. I know it'll be a symbol rather than a real difference.
Is the risk not that they'll just think, oh no, that's really good, that might mean I'm going to have to pay as much as $3 to run my V8 pickup truck, when they should be thinking, oh my God, this is a disaster.
Possibly.
But they won't. You're right. They'll just think about the size. You know, the fact they're going to have to spend an extra $20 on fuel.
It'd be nicer to Venezuela.
OK. Anything else?
And there's a beautiful little story in The Wonderful Sun. Blind Jamie, age 4, sees like a dolphin. About this, blind kid who's been taught by this radical kind of American technique how to see his way around the kind of place based on kind of how dolphins operate. So he'll make these clicking noises and he'll kind of work out exactly where he is on a spatial
sonic
awareness.
airwaves bounce
back. So
back.
the bounce, which is I think pretty cool, man.
Yeah. I can't quite work out how he does it, but good for him. And one last one from you.
There's some daft lunatic. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a photo of a car about 300 feet up in the air. It was just reversed out of a car park. Go back a bit back, and you can stop right now. And
rather embarrassing, I have actually been in a car that crashed in a multi-storey car park like that in Soho. We nearly came off the 3rd floor. It can happen, so I feel some sympathy for the daft lunatic. The one that you can think of is just to think, God, he didn't go all the way out. What have you got then, Amanda?